This is how to turn social media into dollars. So my name is Tommy Ryman. I'm the owner of 99th Media. We are a marketing agency who's done over $42 million in revenue for our clients over the last 2.5 years. And this is everything I've learned on how to turn social media into dollars when it comes to different types of content. Now, first and foremost, we can't really talk about turning social media into dollars without first talking about types of content and the way they are responded to and the way that your audience interacts with them. So the way this looks and the way that you'll probably hear this talked about and see this talked about quite a bit is in the form of funnels. So if you're not familiar with a funnel as far as it goes in a business sense, it's very similar to the way it goes in a cooking sense or in a storage sense. So you've got the funnel. Now forgive my drawing, it's going to be pretty barbaric, but I'll do what I can here. So at the top of the funnel is where you're going to have the most, right? Like that's just how it is. The largest opening, the largest opportunity for the most, in our sense, views, interactions, distribution, that whole thing. So this is going to be where you're going to get the most people, the most interactions, the most views on your content. And this kind of spot in the funnel, this place in the funnel, is where you're going to see a lot of humorous content, and you're going to see a lot of memes, and you're going to see a lot of just kind of like that almost mental masturbation goes when it comes to like motivational videos, when it comes to like the David Goggins edits, when it comes to like the C-Bum edits, like all those things, right? Like they're awesome, don't get me wrong, they're super cool, they're motivating, but they're meant for everybody and they're meant to basically spike your dopamine. So this is where you're gonna have the most views, most interactions, and basically that's all just gonna be very surface level, things like that. Now we're gonna go down to mid funnel, and this is where you're gonna have videos that are focused towards your buyer persona. So I'll give you one of our client examples, and what we do for them is we have a client who runs, they're basically a part distributor for ag companies, for farmers, for tradesmen, for basically whoever needs parts, basically anything in that whole automotive kind of space. And what we do with them is we do a lot of content surrounding the actual product. And so what we do is we do a little bit of like an educational style. So what that's going to do is when it's edited, somewhat entertaining. So you're not going to be focused on the memes. You're only going to be focused on kind of educating and bringing some type of value to them. So in that space, we're going to have value driven content, value surrounding the product, service. And what this does is, like I said, it educates, it brings value, and it gives your audience a reason to watch because it's something they're interested in. Now we're only at the mid funnel. So now as we move down funnel, and you can break this up a lot more granular than I am, but just for the sake of this video, I'm making it just kind of make sense to you. What happens down here is kind of like bottom of funnel content. So it would be kind of in this space here is going to be your sales content. So that's going to be VSLs. That's going to be offer videos, basically explaining what your offer does, those types of things. So basically think sales pitch, think whatever you would say on a sales call, whether maybe that's qualification, maybe that's all these different things. And so that's gonna happen here. And then when it comes down to here, this is where the customers come from. Customers or just dollars, whatever you wanna call it. Whatever you're more comfortable with terminology wise. So what a lot of people do, I'm seeing a lot more businesses do right now, it's currently July 2025 as I'm recording this. What I'm seeing a lot more businesses do is, that didn't work. What I'm seeing them do anyway is go very heavy on the humor and on the meme side because they're seeing a ton of interaction, they're seeing a ton of engagement, and they're seeing just a ton of distribution come from this. And the reason that they're seeing that is because it can be for anyone. So I'll give you an example. In our town, there is a car dealership who I reached out to a number of months ago, and they said they didn't need any help with their socials. They didn't want anyone to come in and basically help them with their marketing. They were fine, which is totally good. I'm not trying to force anyone to anything, but what happened is they stayed dormant for a number of months, and then someone who's, I think, 1 or 2 steps removed from the actual family who owns it came in and basically started just posting memes and humor content on their socials. Now that's awesome that they are posting again. It's nice that there is something flowing from their content engine and from their socials. But what happens is you're going to everybody, not just qualified buyers, not just your specific audience. They're going and they're posting for everybody, which There are a couple of ways to look at it. One of them being the positive side. We can start there. And that's, yeah, if I get more people in, more people see my stuff, which can lead to more of my audience seeing it, which is awesome. And I don't disagree with that part at all. But there also comes the negative with that of everyone seeing my stuff, or maybe only 0.00001% of the audience is qualified to buy my product or to buy my service or to become a client. And that other 99.9999% is now getting fed that content as well, which means sure, you might be getting millions of views, tens of millions, hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, but you probably aren't converting most likely any of them, but very, very likely not at as high of a rate as you would with your lower funnel content here. So the value driven, the VSLs, whatever that looks like for you. Now, this is becoming a big thing where even my clients right now are asking me more and more and more to be on that side of things, to where they want the humor, they want the memes, they want that kind of stuff again. Whereas that was something that we had been running about 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, we more or less stopped it for the most part because we weren't seeing high conversions come from it. But now it's coming back in as far as kind of the mainstream for businesses. We've kind of done this big ebb and flow, and now we're right back to that. And I imagine in the next probably year or two, we're going to go back to more educational, more lower funnel content so that people can start converting again. So that's top of funnel content. That's what I'm seeing a lot of businesses do. And I, once again, want to say, if that's something you want to do where you just, your KPIs, maybe you're a social media manager, maybe you are the head of marketing, and maybe your KPIs for your position are views, maybe it's interactions, maybe it's engagement rate, whatever it is. If those are your KPIs, top of funnel content might be the best thing for you. Maybe not engagement rate, but interactions and views, top of funnel content will probably be the best place for you. Now, if we want to go to mid funnel content, this is something that I'm very heavy on with my clients right now because I know how this cycle goes. This will happen for a couple of months, this humor and memes. It'll happen for maybe, I don't know, let's say 6 months. And then we're going to move down here. Now everyone has a bigger audience and they want to start converting them because, well, we're 6 months now investing into our marketing with no cash flow from it. How the hell can we change that? And so then we're going to go to this kind of mid-funnel content where, okay, now we've got an audience. Now we need to tell them what we do, how we do it. We need to provide value. And then we need to take it from this surface level, wow, they like my memes, to now, okay, how do we convert them into buyers? So this step can be very, very, very difficult because the audience that you've built probably isn't likely to convert just because if all you're posting is memes, humorous videos, whatever it is, within this top of funnel, they're very likely not qualified to buy your product in some sense or another. Now, if you have a very low ticket product, or if you are a low ticket business, like if you're selling ice cream, what is your average ticket? Maybe like $7. Then the humor and the memes, go for it. Because that investment for someone, a $7 ice cream is going to be a lot less than a $27,000 a month marketing package. So that's why this is all kind of taken from the lens of a higher ticket offer, a higher ticket product. So please keep that in mind as we keep going. Now, this 6 months approximately of humor and memes often translate to about, in my experience, between 3 and 6 months of mid-funnel content. And now what that does is in that 3 to 6 months, what you'll often see marketing teams fully turn over. You'll often see people lose their jobs in marketing because they can't convert these people. And then you'll often see them start over, or you'll see them quickly jump to the hard selling. So a lot of people, I've seen this happen more times than I would like to admit, but I see a lot of people go straight from the humor and the memes to hard selling. Now, I don't believe social media is for hard selling. I think it's for building relationships. I believe it's for providing value, and I believe it's for giving people context behind your product, your brand, your offer, who you are, and everything surrounding that. Now, in this 3 to 6 months that we're seeing this kind of value-driven content surrounding the product or service, what you'll see is a lot of meet the team. What you'll see is a lot of here's what we do, and not a whole lot of actual building. So Amalfi Jets does this very well, where they provide value surrounding their product, where they know that not a lot of people are going to buy because it is a pretty niche, I guess, product, the private aviation industry, as far as dollars and cents go for the average viewer. But what they do is they use kind of a hook strategy surrounded by the humor and memes. And then what they do is they show you the value surrounding the product, that they're the fastest, that they're going to find you a great deal, and that their service is top notch. And so what that does is that brings you value around the product. And then once in a while, Colin will jump on a video or whatever, and it's not as popular, but they do come across my feed somewhat regularly. And he'll basically try and just sell their package. He'll basically do a not necessarily a hard sell, but he'll do basically a soft pitch for their Jet card or for one of their other programs or packages, whatever it looks like. Now, after this 3 to 6 months, if you're doing it well, you should be able to convert a percentage of the audience generated in that humor slash memes phase that a lot of businesses go through. And if you are able to do that, then what you can do is you can usually get the first or second purchase from those people collected in the humor and memes phase, that percentage to buy maybe 1 or 2 times within the value surrounding your product or service. Now, like I said, in this span up here, when you collect the large portion of your audience, you're going to have some people who are interested. Some people are going to follow you because they like the videos, they think they're funny, but some people are going to follow you because of the brand, because of the product, because of the service, because of your offer. Now, what that does here is that does give you a percentage of people who are going to purchase and who are still going to convert. It will just likely be at a lot lower of a rate than if you were to just kind of skip the whole kind of feel good backfill of your followers and things like that. So then when you purchase or have your people purchase here, now service and delivery are going to be the big things to make sure that they can buy again, or make sure that they do buy again rather. Now you're probably thinking like, okay, great. Now if I only need mid-funnel content, then the hell is a VSL and the additional offer for? That's a good question. So when you come down and you've already sold some of these people, they're confident in the product and the service and what have you, then when you come down to this VSL and this offer page, this is where you can take some of that trust that you've built up from delivering that great service, from providing the value surrounding the product, to position yourself as the expert, and from positioning yourself in a place of authority. Same thing as being an expert, basically. But when you come down here, you're able to make a bigger offer. So let's say you're a manufacturer of, let's just say, steel. So you're a steel manufacturer, people are constantly coming to you with trust jobs, they want this, they want that built, they want whatever. So when you have this value-based content around your business, around your service, people can start to trust you. People can start to see you know what you're talking about, you're able to deliver, and you're able to communicate in a way that works for them. A lot of content gets very corporate. They get a lot of like weird messaging tactics that they come out with, where they're trying to sell to everyone, or they're trying to sell to people who aren't even within their kind of buyer persona or their audience whatsoever. So when you communicate properly, you provide the value, and you show that you're an authority in the space and they've purchased from you, you can make a bigger offer. Now, if you are a manufacturer, using that steel example, you don't have to do a big VSL. You don't have to do anything like that, but that's where your other offers can come in. So when you have a customer who has purchased from you before, they trust you, they respect you, they communicate in the style that you communicate in, at least as far as your content goes. You show that you kind of are in the same world as them, you're on the same plane. Then what you can do is you can make that bigger offer, and you can say, hey, look, maybe what we've got here at our manufacturer is we've got a program where it's a minimum order of 1 million a year, where whatever projects you guys are working on, we're going to give you this discounted rate up to 1 million a year. And then beyond that, we can work out a further discount, whatever that looks like in your business. That's where you can make that bigger offer, and that's where some of that content goes in. So when you're doing the value content, this kind of ties in a little bit because it is providing value with that additional offer. However, it is separate because you are still selling. So now you don't have to do the VSL or the offer on social media. This can be on a landing page. It can be on your website, on just like kind of a back end page, whatever that looks like, but it does not have to be on social media. So that's something to keep in mind here. Your offer and your VSL do not have to be on social media. Now, the way that it was split up here of 6 months, 3 months, 3 to 6 months on kind of the continuum of how long that takes, this is kind of indefinite. So as long as you're able to continue pumping out content and you're you're continually growing your audience and continually expanding your customer base, you can offer your upsell offer. You can send a VSL as many times as you want. Now, let's just say you're in the manufacturing space as well. We could say steel manufacturer again, just for redundancy, and you want to get out of the actual manufacturing of it, and you would rather get into helping people set up their factories. That's where some of this can come in. That's where you can have that VSL being like, hey, if you guys are looking up to set up your own steel manufacturer, here's approximately what it could do for you. And then you basically build out your whole VSL. I'm not an expert on VSL. I've done 6 of them rather, not one. I did one that did very, very, very well. And then the other 5 did pretty decent. It's like not terrible at all, but they did approximately 30 conversions each in about 2 hours of work each. So very profitable, very, very easy to do if you can do it right and you have the systems in place. Now, if you don't want to jump out of your industry and you are happy kind of in the manufacturing, I know you're jumping around a little bit, but stay with me. If you do want to kind of just stay in what you do, then you don't even have to do a VSL. You can just do your big upsell offer, and maybe that is basically a program where your largest customers or largest clients get discounts, or maybe that means, hey, if you buy X amount this year, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fly you out. We're gonna take you to a hockey game that's big in our area for our manufacturers. And we'll make sure you guys have a great time while you're out here. And so what that does is that builds customers, that builds trust, and that builds customers for life. When you have that level of service, you have that level of delivery, you have that level of authority surrounding your product and service, and you're able to communicate properly. And so what happens to a lot of businesses, going back to this, is they start with the humor and the memes. They amass a solid following, but they don't know how to convert them. And that's something that I've helped a number of brands fix already. And that's something that we can definitely help you guys fix as well if that's something you're dealing with. But what I would recommend more than anything, so that you don't have to try and fix this, is I would, rather than going 100% humor and memes, I would go probably 90% value surrounding your product and service. Become that authority in the space, so that if somebody's looking up a product, they're looking up a service in your space, you come up and you're the one to show that you know what you're talking about, and that you're the one to basically help explain that to them and to be positioned as the expert in the space. So like I said, I would recommend probably, so if we're going humor, we're gonna go value, and then we're gonna go offer. So humor, I would go maybe 5% of your content, because it is still nice to have a little breather on the content. So it's not all serious. It's not all, super intense. And just to be clear, the value doesn't have to be super intense. You can do that in kind of a fun, lighthearted way as well. But strictly humor, I'd probably go 5%. Value, I would probably go 90, I would say probably 94%. And then I would say if you're making a hard sell on social media, I don't recommend doing it often. I would say probably 1% of your content should be hard selling on social media. Honestly, that even seems pretty high. Like I said, I don't feel it's the place to do it, but everyone's gonna do it anyway. So I would say if you need a breakdown as far as to how much you wanna do that, I'd say do it at 1%. Don't do it often, but when you do it, I would say sell in private. So rather than making a big reel and boosting it or running ads against it, what I would do is I would make the video and I would send it to people via DM. If you know people are qualified, if somebody is running their manufacturing page, so let's say manufacturer A wants to sell to manufacturer B, and what you do is you open the DM and you DM them the video. So you send them the video rather than posting it. And so that's that 1%. You're not going to be posting this on social media. No post. You're going to be sending that via DM instead. But everything with the humor and with the value, you're posting on social media. And one thing to keep in mind as well is you might not see growth for really, an undisclosed amount of time. You won't know when you start to see, you won't know exactly when the growth is going to happen. So we've seen accounts go basically 0 followers, 0 followers, 0 followers. Obviously not exactly 0 followers, but maybe 10 followers, 50 followers, 200 followers, and then they blow up to 6,000 in a week. And things like that can happen very, very easily, as the algorithms are very favorable to help you do that right now. Now that's subject to change as all these brands have different interests, as their advertisers start to kind of shift focus maybe from smaller creators to larger creators, or vice versa, whatever that looks like. But the short and skinny of this whole thing is, if you want views and you want interactions, humor and memes is a great way to go. If you want customers and you want clients and you want to turn your social media into dollars, value surrounding your product or service is the way to go. And finally, the offer, if you want to convert a lot more of these higher intent viewers and higher intent interactions into customers, if you want to convert them at a higher rate, like I said, make that offer and send it in DMs. So you want to pitch in private. That's something I learned from Alex Hormozi. Been doing it for a while and it works fairly well. But that's the short and skinny of it. If you guys have questions, drop them down below. If you're looking to work with a team that's done this time and time and time again, my team and I have generated over $42 million for our clients since 2022, and we're happy to help you be part of that. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Drop a comment below if you guys will have any questions about this, if you guys want me to do anything else on this side of things.